On tonight's episode of the CHGO Cubs related podcast, it is September, just a few weeks to go, 5.5 out in the division, heavy up in the wild card. We've got a playoff race to prepare for and an October to get ready for. We'll talk about all of that and more on tonight's edition of the CHGO Cubs related podcast. This is the CHGO Cubs-related podcast driven by Toyota. Let's go places and bet 365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use code CHGO365 at sign up. Hello, everybody. My name is Corey. I am joined, as always, by Brendan. We are coming to you on Thursday. It is September 4th. And if you are a sicko like us, and you have chosen to spend your Thursday night on an off day instead of watching the kickoff of the NFL season, but here to talk about your playoff-bound Chicago Cubs. Right. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Brendan.
Look at that, Corey. How are you feeling? We're 5.5 games back of the division. Are you back in?
Have I ever left? I don't know.
Listen, crazy things do happen, but in reality, preparing for what appears to be a likely 3-game playoff series, and if things fall your way, then you can happen to go into that bye week and set your roster up.
Yeah, I mean, look, as we talked about, 5.5 is still pretty heavy, and that would take a lot going your way in a short amount of time, but crazier things. And even still, the mantra is the same no matter what. Head down, win games, make sure everybody's healthy and playing well, whatever the October situation happens to be, whether that is as a wild card team playing at Wrigley Field, traveling maybe to California or New York to play those 3 games. You just got to be in a good place to do it. Obviously, there's better paths than others, easier paths perhaps, but the name of the game is getting in, which the Cubs look to be in all but certain lock to do, and being at your best when you happen to get there. So that's the exercise for the next few weeks.
Do you think management, Craig Counsell, they're looking at the next 4 weeks and thinking, okay, let's more or less proceed that the division is out of reach. So we're going to rest some guys in the bullpen, keep them rested, not push guys forward to crunch back a 6-game lead, a 5-game lead of the division, and be a little cautious going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of that conversation. We're on this episode. Before I answer that, just an agenda. We do want to talk about Cade Horton, primarily just how unbelievable he is.
That's right.
I know, you kind of tweeted this the other day, but he's kind of forcing you to use the words Jake Arrieta a good amount, which is excellent company to share, but really special stuff from Cade Horton that we want to, break down. We want to break down Kyle Tucker, who appears to be back. He's hot. He looks like himself. And we'll talk about the bullpen, talk about Daniel Palencia. We will talk about PCA and his playing time. Obviously,
jam-packed show.
He's in the middle of a little rest, similar to Tucker right now. So we'll talk about all that. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I saw so much of that discussion when they pulled Horton, which I found very odd. This has been the name of the game the entire time. There was so much reaction to him coming out early. I get it. He hadn't given up a hit. It's 1-0. Obviously, I understand as a fan, you're going to react in that moment. But like the minute he came up, these were the parameters. And the reason I bring that up is because I don't think that really has anything to do with the division or not. I think it has to do with they're going to be playing playoff baseball and they need him to be a part of it. So I think, like you look at a game like yesterday, like, could you have sold out more to ensure you were holding a 1-0 lead? Potentially. But you really are running the risk of, Palencia had pitched what, 3 of the last 4 games. Brad Keller, you've been like close to running into the
It
ground
would have
since
been
the
4 out of the
beginning of the
last 5 for
season.
Brad Keller. Andrew
Yeah.
Kittredge, same situation.
So, like, I think unfortunately it's just one of those things where, like, you're down 1-0 or you're up 1-0. Your offense isn't doing much. You got to bridge the gap for 4 innings. What are you going to do? And if the response is to be, well, you should push Cade Horton, that's just has not been how they're operating on this. They're very clearly setting him up to try to get across this finish line, whatever that is, whether that is early October, late October, early November, maybe again. Like that's what their goal is. And to me, I don't think it has anything to do with exactly where they are in the division. Would they have approached that differently if they were a game out and this was the last game of the season?
Yeah,
Maybe.
perhaps.
But like at the end of the day, they have had a clear idea of what they were going to do with Cade Horton since day one. And it changes a little bit as you go along, but like the exercise was always, how can we get the most out of him and get him to contribute to the success of this team? And this is what that looks like. It's been part of the deal since day one. So I don't know if I think they're operating that way. I think they are operating less in the context of division, wild card, and more just like, we're going to be in the playoffs. We need to get this team ready for that.
Yeah, I don't think they're consciously making moves as if the division's out of reach. The way they've operated, Craig Counsell, the front office over the last 2 years, is opportunities. That's been the name of their game. So they'll play their cards appropriately. They'll get a volume of guys to compete. And should there be an opportunity to push for the division, well, they'll push. But at the same time, they're not going to just fold right away. You still have about a 10 to 15% chance at winning the division. Still don't ignore the 99.8% chance at playing in the 3-game set. But the moves are not made as surrendering the division.
Yeah.
Craig Counsell's been around the game for what, like 30 years? Baseball, he knows, has a huge degree of uncertainty and randomness. And a 10 to 15% chance is low. It's improbable, but 10 to 15% is not out of reach. And to make moves saying, oh, let's ignore all that, that's not what's happening. The way Cade Horton's been managed over the last 3 weeks has always been 70, 75, 80 pitches. And just so happens he's going through the 5th and 6th innings on that short pitch count.
Yeah. And I think, look, too, in the game yesterday, like at a certain point, we've talked about this entire season, right? Like, I can understand if some folks don't like, pushing Ben Brown or him coming into a close game like that. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing we've said so much. Guys got to do their jobs, man. Like, Pomeranz has been good. He comes in the relief there, makes a bad pitch. It gets taken out. Like, these things happen. But eventually, like, whether you're trying for the division or not, you can't treat every single day as an empty the tank kind of night. It just doesn't really work that way. So I often see so much about like, oh, it's, they're going for the sweep. I don't like this lineup, or why is Ben Brown in? Like, they can't use the best guys in the bullpen every day. And I can't get a read on a lot of the fan base in terms of, do they want the same guys in the lineup every day? Do they not want them in the lineup every day? I have no clue what people want at this point. The moral of the story, I didn't have a problem with any of this. They won a series against the Braves. They took care of business. They did so while the Brewers lost a series to the Phillies. They picked up some ground. That's it. I just don't have any bigger feelings or concerns on anything like that. And to be honest with you, when Cade Horton came up in the beginning, and we'll get into some of his stats and, what is just so exciting about him and what he's doing. But when he first came up, you and I talked that we didn't know what that would look like. Would he, max out, hey, go throw 90, 100 pitches every night, and then we'll shut you down when it gets to be too much or when the velo dips and, you're kind of starting to show a little sign of wear and tear? Was he going to do short stints? Were they going to do a 6-man rotation? We really didn't know. And now we have a pretty good picture. I would expect as we get toward the end of September, you see him go a little bit further, kind of prepping to make a start in the playoffs, put a little more pitches on the arm, get him ramped back up. But in order to get there and to continue the stretch that he's been on, it's involved them being careful with them. And he's a huge part of the future of this organization, not just for 2025, but for several years in the future here. And I don't think that, they need to treat him with kid gloves, but I don't think that they have, Brendan. I think they're just trying to be mindful of how much they're pushing him and what the sort of like risk and, payoff assessment is there. And I think that, again, yesterday's a tough one. I think that's another one where I kind of like some of the conversation does, I feel a little weird about, First of all, Cade Horton answered this perfectly in his post-game press conference. Cubs have a lot of very media savvy, early 20-year-old players, but just a really good answer.
They can teach their executives how to talk.
Yeah. Just a really good answer about how like he was quite literally saying like, listen, I want to pitch in the playoffs. I want to pitch deep, and I'm not so concerned about, I was throwing a no-hitter or I'm doing this. Like, I want to be in it for the long haul, and I'm game with what the plan is. Like, I'm on board with it. But also, like, do you think that Craig Counsell is like sitting in the dugout like, yes, I get to take Cade Horton out and go to the bullpen. Yes. I don't want him to throw a no-hitter. I want to lose this game, because Ben Brown and Drew Pomeranz are going to come in. I love it. I love taking out my exciting young. Of course not. They're trying to win in the playoffs. They're trying to keep him successful, keep him healthy, and not just keep him healthy, but keep him pumping at this insane level that he's at. And this is what they have decided that looks like. It doesn't mean that there's no other way to proceed with this, but I would also like look a little bit north. Like it's clearly not some insane thing. The Brewers are doing the same thing.
Craig Counsell did the same thing for years in Milwaukee.
Yeah, like and so it's not like it's some unique thing that he's deploying. Like there's clearly a logic here that a lot of people are buying into.
You may not like the logic either, right? There's never like, oh, this is 100% the right path forward. Not even saying that, but there's logic there. And it's not as if Craig Counsell and the coaching staff is treating all their pitchers like this. Look no closer than Matthew Boyd. He's on pace for 185 to 190 innings. That's in the top 5th percentile of all pitchers in the league. Matthew Boyd did not throw even half of that within the last 5 years, Corey. So it is individualistic. What I would also say too is there's been recent ways to monitor fatigue over the past 4 to 5 years. Listen to what Cade Horton said in that post-game presser, in addition to him planning on pitching playoff innings, which are the highest leverage, most valuable. In addition to that, what he said was, well, knowing that I can go 75 pitches, it allows me to shorten and attack and recover faster. So he knows the game plan: 75 pitches, attack, get through 5, 6 innings. You've seen that. He's been attacking
in which
his
you're
zone like
literally
crazy.
seeing in the results.
You're literally seeing the results. So that is kind of a challenge in and of itself. But also, too, he said he's recovering faster and better. He feels better than he did 4 or 5 weeks ago. So I'm encouraged. How can you not come away seeing Cade Horton go 5 to 6 innings and telling fans he feels better now than he did a month ago?
Yeah. And I get it, right? Like I'm watching the game too. I want him to uncork it and
you
pitch
think I want to watch Ben Brown
like,
out there, the 6.5 ERA? Of course.
But I want him pitching in October. I want him taking the ball in a wild card series, if that's where it comes to, and shoving it down Juan Soto or Fernando Tatis, whoever it is, like shoving it down their throat and winning us a playoff series and playoff games. That's what I want. And if that's what their goal is too, which it is, then we're all on the same page.
I
I don't care so much about one game against the Atlanta Braves, where, let's be honest, folks, the offense wasn't going to do anything else anyway.
They scored
Like,
one run.
it didn't matter.
You know, you could have gone up to bat and you would have done better than them that day, Corey. You know, let's take our first ad break here, come back around, and we'll continue these discussions. Okay, Four Seasons. Nobody likes being hot, sweaty, and sticky in the summer. It's the worst, but nothing feels better than stepping into your cool, comfortable, air-conditioned home. Summer will be here before you know it. Is your home's air conditioning ready for the challenge? Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric has been trusted by Chicagoland's families for over 50 years. Now is the perfect time to get your AC checked out. Their experts are ready for installation, maintenance, and repair, whatever you need. In 2024, it was officially Chicago's hottest year on the record, with the heat index hitting 114 degrees at O'Hare. Don't get stuck sweating through yet another brutal summer with a failing air conditioning. When it's hot and humid, you need to know your home will stay cool. And with Four Seasons Heating, you can trust the technicians coming into your home. Plus, they never charge extra for service on nights, weekends, and holidays. Schedule your Four Seasons AC tune-up today and save $50. Plus, you'll get a 1-year no-breakdown guarantee. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. All right, let's be real for a second. The world's gone soft. Everybody gets a trophy for just showing up. Everything's bubble wrapped and watered down. Even pop used to have some kick. Now it's all about pretty colors and easy fizz. RC Cola is not just a soft drink. It's a damn good cola. I remember going to my grandparents' house, opening the fridge up right there in front of my face. Good old-fashioned RC. I popped one of those open, turn on WGN, listen to Chip Carey, and watch Sammy Sosa hit home run after home run. RC is the original cola that does not fold under pressure. No trends, no gimmicks, no glow-up. It has not changed its stripes since 1905, before the Cubs won 3 World Series rings, by the way, Corey, because it did not need to. That same bold, crisp flavor, it has always been that. RC Cola tastes like a punch in the thirst.
Okay, Brendan, the one thing you didn't mention about that hypothetical scenario of drinking delicious RC Cola, watching Sammy Sosa hit home runs on WGN, was like you were missing the other element, like Bob Howry blowing the game, something like that. Kent Merker.
Happy. I'm trying to give RC Cola a good ad. And by the way, I got ripped last week for saying soda. I'm reading the script. I don't want to hear West Coast me over here. I'm from Chicago, folks. Give me a break. I got ripped last week for saying soda. You know, ripped the advertisement writers. I changed it for
you didn't say pop.
Yeah, I said pop on this one.
I got you. All right, back with you. Let's keep talking about Cade Horton, though, and I do want to do a little bit of a dive on just, how good he's been and just finish off that conversation. In the second half, 47 innings, 44 strikeouts, a 0.77 ERA, a 0.81 whip, and Jake Arrieta, the only other Cubs starting pitcher since 1920 to allow 4 runs or fewer across 9 starts. I know that you have a lot to say about Cade Horton. In a broad sense, just an incredible development for this team. And we've talked about so much of this, and I recall seeing you tweet some of this stuff, but just so much about him is so exciting. Yeah. His mound presence, the way that he, as we talked about, has attacked hitters. Some of the, we've seen him in starts go massive stretches of just throwing strikes, just pumping strikes and attacking these hitters. The earned run numbers speak for themselves. The strikeout numbers speak for themselves. But for a top prospect to look like this and to have stepped into this rotation in a year where Justin Steele is out, Matthew Boyd kind of carrying the load for the beginning portion of the year, Shota missing some time, for your top prospect and a rookie to step in there and so visibly grow each start. And since he made his debut, so many months ago, and to just see him learning how to pitch at this level and learning how to attack these MLB hitters and watching the results slowly kind of ticking along and now obviously really ramping up, it's impossible to not just be thrilled with this development. And not only what it means for potentially, like I said, him pitching for you in the playoffs in 2025, but anchoring this rotation or being one of the anchors of this rotation for hopefully a very long time here to come.
132 innings across AAA and the big league level, 103 innings at the big league level. Going into Thursday, he had the best second half ERA for pitchers in Major League Baseball. Now, in the second half, fewer innings, granted, but we talk about ERA. Markey had a great stat. Jake Arrieta's 2015 second half ERA, 0.75. Cade Horton's 0.77. Again, innings are different, so don't get misconstrued, but it just shows how valuable he's been when given the pitches and innings he's allotted to. What he's done has been so impressive, and I think there's more room to grow. Now, what I mean by that is if we look at just his overall stuff and his whiff rate, he actually has a better than league average whiff rate, but his strikeout rate is below league average. That to me matches what we've seen when he's pitching. He's attacking. He's willing to give up weaker contact at the expense of strikeouts and at the expense of elongating at bats. Folks will look at Cade Horton and they'll look at the strikeout rate. They won't think, oh, well, he doesn't get that many strikeouts, so he's not good as, Jacob Misiorowski over there, who has a 4.5 ERA. Then some of the really nerdy people, like the super nerds, they'll look at stuff.
You?
No, not at all. They'll look at stuff plus. They'll look at pitching bot. They'll look at all these different machine learning guided metrics, and they look like, well, his fastball grades below league average. He has a 91 stuff plus on the four-seam fastball. He's kind of overrated. He's not getting strikeouts. The fastball's not grading well. I'm not impressed. If we look at Cade Horton's fastball, no one in Major League Baseball has a fastball that cuts at the rate it cuts with as much carry as Cade Horton. Specifically, if you want to go into some of the thresholds, for any pitcher who has at least 11 inches of what's called induced vertical break, most of those pitchers have about 6 inches of run. Cade Horton is literally at a positive cut on his fastball. So going back to the whole nerdy stuff and stuff plus, those metrics are trained by the majority of data it gets fed. The majority of data is coming from pitchers who are similar. So when you're trying to predict run value, you make an assumption that most pitchers look alike. You get biased towards pitchers who have 5 to 7 inches of run. How do you train a model to predict value when the model has never seen a pitcher like Cade Horton? That's called training bias. So if you're looking at stuff plus all these different numbers, can't apply that to Cade Horton. You kind of have to go old school, ironically. You kind of have to go by the eye test and think, oh, that looks unique. Go look at some of these numbers, explain why they're outliers, and look at how he can become even better. He's exceeding every single expectation I had. Innings, over 130 innings, pitch types. The sinker usage is now going up on the month-to-month basis, Corey. 13% used last month. It was almost 0% to start the season. Changeup usage, about 15 to 20% of the time. He's developing more pitch types. He's attacking the hell out of the zone. His velocities remain stable. He's looking like Jake Arrieta on the mound, going like this. I can't ask for a more impressive rookie campaign, especially from someone who is going through a season, half a season long injury spell with his oblique or shoulder last year. It has been incredibly impressive. If not for Pete Crow-Armstrong, undoubtedly the most impactful story of the season.
Well said. Do you think I don't know. He does like a more standard, like, kind of stone cold Steve Austin goatee. You think he can pull off an Arrieta beard?
Give him 5 more years. He's a young cat. I don't know if he can.
That's true. Arrieta had a few years on him at the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
He was clean shaven back in the day.
And like, should he be doing Pilates? I don't know. They don't have to be exactly the same.
That's true.
A little added thing, and I didn't text you this the other day, but I got to go early to watch BP the other day. It was like
Was he hitting?
season ticket holder thing. No, but it was like Shaw and Turner and I think Santana and Reese McGuire were taking, a rotation in BP, and he's out there. Dude can pick it. Let me tell you, he was out there in center field. Excellent reads, caught every ball that came to him, and I cannot
He's
say
an
the
athlete.
same. Cannot say the same for the rest of the pitching staff. Some ugly efforts out there, but Cade Horton, man, tracking him down. I think he could play the outfield in a pinch.
Well, if the Bears need a slot receiver too, you can play in the slots.
Well, I don't know about that, but
neither do I. We can
if we need a defensive sub in October,
sure.
I think he could do it. Made some nice catches. Yeah, incredible development. I don't know what else there is to say about that. Like I said, I would expect kind of similar monitoring and pitch counts and stuff like that as we go up. I think it'd be interesting, maybe the last start of the season, see how they kind of want to really set him up for the playoffs. I don't know exactly what that looks like. Maybe a little bit more. They push him a little bit more just to get him to that point, especially in the playoffs. Like there's a lot of really high leverage innings. You kind of do sometimes expect maybe not to be as efficient in the playoffs, just given the nature of those games, the offenses, the environment, etc. So I think that's going to be part of it is getting him set up in these next few starts to finish out the season for the environment that they're anticipating in terms of pitching in the playoffs and pitching in, potentially like an elimination game in a wild card series. It's obviously very different than making a start on a Wednesday night against the Atlanta Braves.
And I wouldn't be surprised too if they skip him 1 week. I mean, if he continues at this pace, even with the 75 pitch inning marker, he'll finish near 150 total innings before October. Like typically most Cubs young guys don't do that. Like in years past, now granted they have changed philosophies, but maybe 120, 125 innings max for someone at his level, and definitely not someone who's coming off missing 3 months last season. So it's going to be fascinating how they actually go about maneuvering in the next 4 weeks while maybe you're trying to contend for a division, best case scenario, but two, just setting yourself up for a playoff situation. Do you want to do 10 days rest because you breaks up routine? Is that going to be good for Cade? What's the more risk profile? Is it 10 days or is it letting him go every 5th day and having him only go 50 pitches? Like that's going to be a very curious trend to follow, one that we've never seen and maybe one that's never been used even in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it has been a joy to watch and follow along, and we'll see how they finish it off. So want to hit our second ad break here in a minute. When we come back, I do want to dive into Kyle Tucker. Obviously, the world was on fire for a little bit as it relates to our dear king. So want to check in there. Spoiler alert, he looks really good again. And then
he's injured, but yeah.
Huh?
He's injured.
Well, that part, yeah. But I think he'll be fine.
I don't know. Scaring me.
Want to talk about PCA, obviously, and how they're going to monitor his playing time when he'll come back, how they're going to deploy him, and just how they're setting things up. And then want to get to Daniel Palencia at some point as well. I know Brendan has some data and graphs and stuff on that, if that is your kind of thing. So that is what we plan to talk about in the last half hour here. So let's hit our second ad break and we will come back and do all of that.
Hey, coaches, listen up. If you're looking to grow your coaching business and train more athletes, Eye on the Ball is where you need to be. It's simple. Create your profile, upload your background check, and boom, you're in. Right now, coaches can get their first 6 months free. After that, just $50 a month for $500 for the whole year. Athletes of all ages and all sports can find you directly. There's no middleman. There's no hassle. And the best part, Eye on the Ball doesn't mess with your schedule, your payments, or your business. You're in full control. We just connect you with athletes who are already looking for a coach like you. Do not wait. Athletes are out there searching for a coach like you right now. Go to eyeontheball.net today. That's eyeontheball.net. Get ready for the epic family fun. Monster Jam is coming to Rosemont. The world's most popular Monster Jam trucks and best drivers roar into Allstate Arena from September 12th to the 14th. Get ready for nonstop excitement with gravity-defying stunts, heart-pounding races, and plenty of big air. The world's best drivers tear up the dirt as they battle for the event championship in 3 competitions: racing, 2-wheel skills, and everyone's favorite, freestyle, where monster trucks defy the laws of physics and do the impossible. Experience Monster Jam live and become a fan for life with an ultimate day of family fun at Allstate Arena from September 12th to the 14th. This year, get ready to cheer and be amazed as massive Monster Jam trucks and world champion drivers take over Rosemont for a weekend. Tickets are on sale now at www.monsterjam.com. Get ready to cheer and be amazed as massive Monster Jam trucks and world champion drivers take over Rosemont for that weekend, again at www.monsterjam.com.
All right, Brendan, back with you here. Let's talk about Kyle Tucker. We will see if he is back in there. Obviously, he's resting with the calf injury. They don't seem overly concerned about it. Now, do we trust them? Anybody involved? Not really at this point. We just dealt with this. But hopefully not a big thing. And at the very least, it's not in his hand as he's trying to hold the bat. So a step forward there. But looking at some of his numbers in the recent stretch, last 15 games, a 1040 OPS. That includes a few of the games before that Angels series. So some of the games he was still sort of, struggling and, sitting, etc. Last 7 games, 1184 OPS. So, look, it was obviously not his best couple months, even though his not best couple months are better than most players in the league. But he appears to be back as long as this new thing isn't a lingering problem. Swings look better. He's driving the ball. He's slugging. Went oppo for the first time all year. I kind of been waiting for him to do that. But looks great. So that's what the Cubs need. They need it from more guys. You and I talked a lot about Seiya last week. And they need that, the guys who they plan to be their big hitters and carrying that top of the order and slugging. They need them all to click at the same time. That's obviously one of the keys to getting hot in October. But for as weird and at times confusing as that Kyle Tucker situation was, it's obviously very relieving, Brendan, to feel like we're kind of on the other side of that and he looks like himself again.
Yeah, there's no reason to believe the hand is having any lingering effects at this point. Last 50 plate appearances before the injury, 3 home runs. You said all those stats right there. He looked like his normal self. The only question is, how's the calf? So we'll find out Friday. If you're listening to this Friday morning, check back in. I'm sure we'll get an update, whether he's playing Friday, what Craig Counsell says, what Kyle Tucker says. It does not appear to be serious. It seemed precautionary, but we heard literally the same thing about Jameson Taillon not just 2 weeks ago. So you just never know. I'm operating that it's not serious.
Me
and
too.
If it's not serious, then my biggest concern is no longer there. My biggest concerns are get to October, have Shota at full stamina, have Matthew Boyd at full stamina, and Kyle Tucker at full stamina. You get those 3 guys, your workhorses at every single phase of the game, then you allow for some guys to step up. You allow for guys to have a 2016 Javi Baez postseason. You allow for crazy, stupid stuff to happen when you have the anchors of your dual-headed pitching staff going game 1, game 2, and a guy who can get on base or hit a home run, what seems to be like in half his plate appearances when he's hot. It's really encouraging. It's given me a lot of optimism just seeing Kyle look like his normal self so fast. It was basically just 1 game after coming back against Milwaukee in Anaheim, and then that was it. It's like crazy how fast it turned around.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it like I said, it is a lot of a relief, because I even remember saying on here, like, if there and this was before we confirmed that there was indeed an injury that sort of leads to all this, but just remember thinking, like, there's no way. He'll be fine. If he's not hurt, if this isn't because of an injury that is lingering or whatever, he'll be fine. I
He
don't
has
know what's
too
going,
long of a
you know?
track record for him to not be
Yeah.
fine.
So it that was always the most logical outcome, and it's nice to be there. It was nice to watch him hit that home run the opposite way the other day. So, yeah, it's good to see. It's obviously hugely important for him too. I mean, obviously, he wants to head into this off season on a heater. Yeah. So,
Good for him.
um, yeah, that's pretty much the update there. It looks good.
How do you feel about PCA? Lot of angst about PCA. He's also going to get 3 days off, the last 2 games off this off day.
Yeah.
What's your feeling on his recent struggles?
Honestly, it doesn't phase me very much. I think if you even go back to like kind of our earlier episodes this year, even when we were kind of pointing out, where he was in the WAR standings, was he going to be the national MVP? Like all these things, it was always Cash with like, he's 23 and there is still going to be slumps and ebbs and flows and adjustments that he needs to make. But that he was performing at that level at all at the major league level was the real story. So it just doesn't phase me that 23-year-old, like in his first, like, you are the center fielder every day, like your big breakout year. I it's, look, his August was dreadful. I was just writing down these numbers: 160 batting average, 22 WRC plus, 446 OPS. I mean, those numbers are dreadful. I always used to make those comparisons. Like I think that's under the John Lester 2019 line. That was a full season, obviously. And, Pete's only done this for a month. And that was coming off of a massive heater for Pete. It sort of, he was at like a real peak and now a real valley. But I don't know, just doesn't phase me, man. I mean, even if the season ended today with that bad August, he's still finishing with a profile that you would absolutely kill for in terms of his outcome as a player. Right now he's a 5.3 win player, 114 WRC plus, 250, 290, 493 slash line, like, and potentially one of the best defensive players we've ever seen. Like, that's a great outcome.
Yeah.
Like earlier in the year, yeah, we were talking about is he on an 8 WAR pace, a 9 WAR pace?
A 10 more pace.
Yeah. So like, yeah, of course. Like, I hope he gets back to that and has a hot September and finishes it off. But at the end of the day, like, his overall profile thus far has been really great. And of course, if he has another month that rivals August, yeah, like, I think you'd have to start thinking a little bit about what's going on and how he gets out of it, etc. But to me, it just doesn't really phase me that much that a player that's as young as he is and that has a volatile offensive profile, like, yeah, there's probably going to be some extremes in there. We always compare him to Javi in a lot of ways. Of course, he was traded for him. Like, Javi, it happened with Javi too. Like, when you have such extreme swing tendencies, and I know you have some notes on a little bit of kind of that changing a little bit, and being a little surprising in this last stretch. But it never seemed outlandish that an adjustment or a slump or something like that would come. And I think it's okay. It's a test for him, and it's a question of how he comes out of it. But his overall body of work has been excellent, and I think he'll come out of it. Now, do I expect him to put up another, like, I think that August stretch, like going into the All-Star break, maybe it was like a 190 WRC plus for like
I expect it.
a significant stretch of time. Like, no, I'm not expecting him to get back to that or keep at that level, for the rest of his, of course not, right? But I think he will find his way out of the 400 OPS territory that he was in the month of August. I have no hesitation on that.
He has the third most extra base hits in the league. Now, maybe it changed over the last 2 days, but going into today, third most extra base hits. We had a comment here from our good friend Marcus. PCA just needs to stop swinging at everything. You would think that would be the case, but surprisingly, it's not that. If we overlap just his chase rates, his zone swing rates, and his expected weighted on base average, you'll notice the zone swing at the very top, it's been pretty stable most of the year. Chase rate since the start of July, it's gradually gone down. It peaked around 45 to 50%. It has gone gradually down to just under 35% in his last 20 chance sample. Now, if you overlay the bottom red graph, that's his expected weighted on base average. It peaked at the same time his chase rate peaked. So when he had a 45 to 50% chase rate, well, his expected WOBA was over 400, and it's gone down as his chase has gone down. As his patience, quote unquote patience, has improved, his overall batted ball quality has decreased. It doesn't really make sense to me. If you were to tell me going into the year, Pete would have the third most extra base hits by first week of September, 27 home runs. At the same time, he would be way more patient. I would have said the reason for his success is because he's more patient. But it's been the reverse in the last 2 months. Of course, you don't know what's causing this. You have to talk to the player himself. You can only look at so many stupid graphs like that. You can draw your own conclusions, but whatever has been happening over the last 2 months, whether it be seeing pitches well, him not being able to get his A swing off on pitches he normally hits, and him maybe searching for more pitches, I'm not sure. It's manifesting in a significantly better chase rate with poor batted ball results. Make for that what you will. It could be a lot worse. He could be struggling and whiffing like crazy and swinging at everything, but quite literally, it has been the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not apples to apples, but the stretch that he's in now reminds me at least a little bit of like Shaw earlier in the year, just in terms of like you're going from kind of one extreme to another and you're trying to kind of push it into the middle.
Yeah. And Shaw's was a contact, PCA's a patience.
Yes. And it's difficult. And that's why I say this. And this isn't hindsight. Like I think, you and I certainly weren't alone. And like when PCA was lighting the world on fire, like it's okay to think that he would have to adjust again. He's a very young player, really sort of breaking out at this level for the first time. Pitchers are going to adjust. They're going to try to find different ways to attack him. He's going to have to keep in certain good habits, ditch bad habits. It's a process.
It's a natural ebb and flow process. Yes. All the guys go through it.
The one thing that I do think is interesting to consider as we go forward here is, do we see Craig lean on him less against lefties? Obviously, we have seen him drop in the order like Michael Busch usually against lefties, or Busch not even playing against lefties because he's been dreadful against lefties. But recently was the first time that we've seen, maybe not literally the first time, but with regularity where, PCA wasn't getting some of those starts against lefties. Do you think that that's something we see going forward? How do you feel about that?
I think it depends on Willie Castro's value at the dish. I think it depends on if they want to give Kevin Alcantara.
If Willie Castro remembers that he's a solid player or not, like now that he has a Cubs jersey on.
And by the way, he did not make a very good play in center field. I forgot what game it was a couple of days ago. I look at it differently in terms of what does Pete provide value-wise to the pitching staff? How do you prevent innings elongating, and what is the risk profile managing your bullpen, someone on the pitch limit with Cade Horton versus risking having Pete out of the lineup for offensive value and not being able to chase down balls? I think Craig's going to operate with Pete playing most of the time, unless Willie Castro immediately goes 3 for 5, 2 for 4. Or Kevin Alcantara does the same exact thing. I think we'll continue to see Pete more against left-handed batters. That would be my guess, at least.
Yeah, I mean, as we head through September, I'm open to whatever they want to do, especially if they think that maybe, right now in particular, focusing on those right-handed matchups that he can really thrive in might be the way to kind of get him out of this funk,
sure.
or make, continue finalizing the adjustments he's making, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, though, it's going to be interesting to see, just because, of course, those games get shortened. So if you're facing a tough lefty, do we see him start that game because you want that defense the whole time? Or do you see Craig kind of think of things like, likely this left-handed starter is not going to go super deep in this game. We're going to be ready to deploy Pete at a moment's notice, and that's how they go about it. I'm not really sure, and I think a lot of that will be informed by how these next few weeks
is how it's going to play out.
Yeah, but there are different ways to think about that. But yes, ultimately, especially in the playoffs, maybe not all 9 innings if it's a lefty. But you want him out there. You want him out there patrolling center field, and the outs he takes off the bases in a lot of these games can often be more important than the ones he's getting on himself.
Yeah.
And, especially with your pitching staff and the way the rest of the offense has gone as a whole, like keeping that double off the board for Shota might be more important than him hitting a double himself and, having to walk back to the dugout when Carson Kelly grounds into a double play.
Maybe P goes out there and he buys the staff one more inning. You don't see Ben Brown in the 7th. Those are the situations they're probably weighing. Let's take our ad break here, come back, finish up the last 15 minutes. Man, I love catching a baseball game live. There's nothing like being at the ballpark, hearing the crowd, smelling the hot dogs, and cheering on the Cubs. But getting tickets, that's usually the frustrating part. Long queues, login screens, and by the time you're ready to check out, boom, prices have jumped. All you want is to be there in the moment, not battling some website. That's why I use Game Time. It gives the advantage back to fans with just a few taps. You can unlock amazing tickets and experiences without the headache. The Game Time guarantee means you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time at the best price. Plus, fees are always included. So what you see is exactly what you pay. Just the other day, I hopped on Game Time. I wanted to see, what are those playoff tickets possibly going to go? You can see what are those end of September tickets possibly going to go to at Wrigley Field. But if you want to wait last second, if you're not like me looking ahead, well, you're going to get the best deal if you wake up that morning and you decide to go to a game. You can take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets, Cubs tickets. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHGO. That's CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Tap ticket, go with Game Time. That moment, the one you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at a gas station 3 states away. Well, I've been there too. I lose my sunglasses. I've left my sunglasses on top of my car. I literally sat on my sunglasses last week. I did not put them in the top of my car thing. I sat on them like a complete idiot. I found out Shady Rays, and it changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life. They're seriously good looking. They're polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. So when I actually wear my sunglasses, I know I have no fear. No hikes. I can go to concerts. I'm on a boat, wherever. If I lose them, I know Shady Rays Eyewear has my back. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head over to shadyrays.com. Use code CHGO for 35% off. Polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Quick aside, football is back. The CHGO Die Hard Football Club sale is officially launching Monday. We've got 2 membership options to promote right now. We have a $36 intro offer. You can get a football club tee. You can get $36 for 1 year. That includes that shirt and all the Die Hard perks. If you're interested about going to these Bear games, you want to go tailgating, there's also the tailgating tier. You got a $90 intro price. They usually go for $119. And these are available to diehards for a prorated upgrade as well. You also get a free tailgate every year. That's $140 value. If you want to go see all the famous CHGO Bears guys, Carm, Hoj, Braggs, all of them, this is the deal for you.
All right, Brendan. And yes, Bears season starting on Monday. CHGO Bears team is the best in the city. If you're looking for your new home for your Bears coverage, I would invite you to check them out. They've got a million shows every night, all kinds of different coverage, and they do an incredible job. So check them out. Get ready for the season on Monday. Let's finish talking about the bullpen, Brendan. Want to talk about Daniel Palencia a little bit. I know you've been looking into him a lot. It has not been as smooth of sailing for Daniel as of late. Last 7 games, a 5.06 ERA, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 10 hits, 3 earned runs, 10 strikeouts, 3 walks.
What's going on?
Honestly kind of look at that. I know you have some data on it and stuff, but I sort of look at that similarly to how we kind of just approach the PCA conversation. It doesn't really faze me, and I still have a ton of confidence
Look at you.
in Daniel.
So strong as a fan.
Well, because this is also just one of those things that I think was to be expected. Like we talked about it, I think especially we talked about it heading into the trade deadline. Like, kind of want them to get another high leverage reliever because you're relying on Keller and Palencia, which are somewhat of 2 unknowns as this season progresses. Like Keller's obviously had success prior at the MLB level, but in different roles, and then he wasn't having success, etc. Just in terms of like, these are your 8-9 guys. We haven't seen that before. They have not done that before, especially going the full season. They've been used a ton. And hoping that carries into the playoffs. Like for a guy like Palencia getting this spot and seeing this success like this for the first time in his career, just doesn't seem crazy that there's going to be some valleys in this. And I think it's all a really valuable experience for him. I really do. Similar to PCA's August, like he's got to find his way out of it, of course. Like, especially as you get toward September and you're heading to the playoffs, like these leashes are very, very short. Yeah. And you're going to have Craig and Tommy really spinning their heads a lot. But I think it's good experience, man. Like he's got his entrance now at Wrigley Field. Everybody's on their feet when he comes in. He's going to have to get practice and learn, like you want to channel that adrenaline, but you got to channel it the right way. And you got to learn how to pitch in those crazy environments. Like you're going to go pitch. The Cubs end up having to play on the road, San Diego or against the Mets or something like that. That's a tough environment, man. Like you have to be ready for that. And sometimes struggling and having to kind of take your punches, like that's how you get there. And I just think it's, this is a different conversation if he's a long-time established veteran who is cratering toward the end of the year. And there would be much more to think about that. But I think for a young guy who was really thriving, when he got into this role and blowing guys away and just looking so impressive, he's got to come out of it. And, we've seen a variety, I think just of how he looks in these appearances is different time to time. But I just, this isn't a surprise, I don't think. And I don't think it has to be like a 5-alarm fire.
No, I think to some degree, I think this is kind of who he could be, not the, 4 or 5 ERA, but Palencia is someone like Cade Horton who attacks his own. We've given Horton a lot of kudos for getting through innings fast, lowering the pitch count, but you sacrifice whiffs by doing that in strikeouts. Palencia is not someone who gets strikeouts or rather whiffs. His whiff rate for relievers, especially closers, it's about league average. Now, the top tier closers in years past, the Chapmans, the Mason Miller types, they're like 99 percentile in whiffs. Palencia is not that guy. What Palencia does well is he limits the walks and he induces a lot of weak contact. He allows for strikeouts looking, and he attacks the hell out of the zone. Got a unique release point, got a fastball with a lot of run and carry on it at 102 miles per hour. Not many guys see him. So he's still a very valuable pitcher, but when he's off a little bit and the contact does come out, well, then you risk some of those dinkers. You risk some of the ground balls through the hole. You risk some blue pits. That's sort of who he is. Now, over the last 4 weeks, the location's been a little bit off, not crazy off, but he's throwing more pitches inside the lower part of the strike zone. You look at the last 3 weeks here, you see the deep red. Granted, it's only like 7 outings, so it is a small sample, but you don't see him peppering the top of that strike zone. I can count on my fingers right here how many pitches he has above the black for fastballs. It's 5, actually 6. So on 2 hands. That's for you, Corey. There's not many pitches at the top of the zone. A lot of it is central and inside of lefties or outside to righties. But when I ask myself the question, okay, well, the command is a little bit off. Does the fastball look different? Because we had discussions 2 months ago about Drew Pomeranz's fastball not having to carry. We were having discussions, should we DFA Drew Pomeranz because he's not getting the carry on his fastball anymore? Now the carry went back up. Palencia's stuff, mechanically, stuff-wise, everything that you can download from StatCast, it's basically the same. So the pitch is the same, just commanded slightly different. So then I asked myself the question, well, what are the odds he can come back down to earth, right? And show what he was doing for the first 4 months. Well, if the fastball looks the same, if the slider looks the same, and the slider location is as good as it has been over the past 3 weeks, then I would say is a pretty good chance. And then I started thinking, well, he was just sick 2 weeks ago. Like he was physically ill 2 weeks ago. So do I weigh that? Well, yeah. How can I not ignore that, right? All this leads me to believe that if I had to bet money for the next 4 weeks, I would probably take the 4-month sample, the quality pitch shape, and the velocity returning to 100, 101 lately as good signs and not be overly concerned. Every fan has their different way of looking at this. For me, I value those a little bit more heavily.
Yeah. And I think, look, 25-year-old getting a shot at being the closer for the first time like this and doing so, for a team that's obviously playing a lot of high leverage games, like it's okay. Like there will be some learning curves and some moments like that. It's okay, but it's about that growth. And I believe in him, man.
What would you say to the fan who says he should not be pitching in non-safe situations?
Ooh, man. I mean, that's like so every pitcher. I don't know. I don't know. I understand that. I understand the mentality, and I do believe it can be a real thing. Do we know that about Palencia? I don't know. And you can't complain about that if you're going to complain about Ben Brown. That's my answer to that. You either want them running the same guys out there to save Palencia so that he's not pitching in non-save opportunities, or you want them to kill Brad Keller on the mound and have his arm fall off, or you're getting Ben Brown and Drew Pomeranz 1 game a week. Those are your options. So I think that's my answer to that.
There's going to be non-safe situations in the playoffs too. You're going to have to rely on Daniel Palencia in a tie game, maybe to come in the 8th inning.
You want to use your best pitchers. And if you believe a win is there and the moment is the moment, the turning point moment, if you will, if you're Pat Hughes, like you want to use your best pitchers. And so unless it's like a Craig Kimbrell situation where it's like really clear and sort of spoken out loud that he does not want to pitch in, an 8th inning role or something like that, like I think you got to defer to that. That's how I feel about that. So setting the table here before we wrap up, 5.5 behind Milwaukee for the division, 9 up for a playoff spot in the wild card race, 7 series to go. Brendan, going to be the interesting one.
Yes.
So you can hear those numbers yourself. Pay attention to the division at your own peril. They're going to make the playoffs. It's about being healthy, playing well, and head down these next 7 series. Try to keep winning games. If it gets you back in the division, great. That's lovely. If not, You've still got playoff games to play. You want to be in your best spot when you get there. So almost done, Brendan. 7 series. It sounds crazy to say out loud, but the Cubs are in a good spot. I'm looking forward to it. And then we're going to have to deal with October baseball, which might kill the both of us. So Brendan and I will be back with you again next Thursday. Don't forget to tune in to Luke and the boys throughout the rest of the week. We appreciate your support. And as always, go Cubs.
We all silly like the mayor.